Hey y'all! Today it's Viserai versus Starvo, the new hot deck on the streets or whatever. So yeah, let's get into it. My opponent won the die roll and they chose to go first. Totally makes sense. Starvo has a huge advantage going first. You know, if they get lucky and they get to activate Bravo's ability on the first turn, then they sneak in some dominate damage. Or if nothing else, they get to arsenal a card, and that's very necessary for Crown of Seeds. It significantly improves the percentage chance that Bravo will be able to fuse at the start of their turn if they Crown of Seeds on your turn. So that's really nice. Oh yeah, my opponent made a mistake here. They thought they had a Bravo fusion, but that blink is actually lightning. Even though, I don't know, just if you just glance at it from the art, you might be able to confuse it as being an ice card. So that was a mistake. But anyway, so for this matchup, I have decided to go for the OTK route, and I have made some sideboard changes in preparation for this, for Starvo being very prevalent at ProQuest, and I have sided in 3 red unmovables. So going into this matchup, I have 3 red unmovables, 3 reduced rune chance, and 2 sink belows, a total of 8 defense reactions, and hoping that along with my equipment can allow me to survive their must block attacks like Oaken Olds and Crippling Crushes. So my opponent just passes there. Very, very wise of them, because it doesn't let me filter, and I desperately want to filter with his 4 attack hand. So in this matchup, especially if you're going for the OTK route, you really want to prioritize arsenaling defense reactions. So looking at my hand here, I decide I'm not going to arsenal anything in this hand. So I just pitch 2 to make a rune chant, and then come in with this meet and greet. So of course, when you're doing OTK thing, you want to just build up on rune chants. So you could say there's an argument for just pitching to make a rune chant and not coming in with a meet and greet. But Starvo is very hand hungry. I had a good feeling that they wouldn't block this, and then I would get the rune chant from meet and greet hitting anyway. So that's great. I snuck in 5 damage, and that means that now when I go off, I need fewer rune chants. Like normally, I like to go off at about half my opponent's life total. So you know, if they were at 40 life, I like to go off at like 20 rune chants. But now at 35, so I'll be more okay with like a 17, for example, which actually can be a big difference. So my opponent managed to get the Bravo ability there. And then they Crown of Seeds. Get a new card, try and get a better attack to come in with. Okay, and then they come in with a Spinal Crush with the Bravo ability on it. So this is 11 Dominate. Go again. So I don't really care about the Crush effect. This turn, like based on my hand, I'm not going to be creating any rune chants. I can Moderatai and Sonata, I guess, for 2 rune chants, but that's not worth the damage I'll take. Or it's not worth using my equipment to block out the Crush effect. So I just go ahead and take it, and yeah, this hammer, I block it out completely. You might be tempted to like hold on to a Moderate Tide because you're like, oh, I'm OTK, but it's not worth it. I definitely believe that you want to filter your hand as much as you can until you find those few cards that just directly make you rune chance or defense reactions. So now we have a defense reaction in arsenal and a defense reaction in hand, so I'm feeling quite safe here. This is a good hand to use those defense reactions or even some equipment if I need to, because then I can incantation and read the runes, which is a total of 7 rune chants if you consider incantation is giving you 3 over 3 turns. So yeah, so I'm looking to try and keep this hand, as much of it as I can. And then my opponent comes in with a Winter's Bite. So I need to discard unless I pay 1. So this is a tough decision. Like obviously the best thing to do is pitch the blue Morven Skies, because in case my opponent comes in with another Winter's Bite, then I wouldn't need to discard another card if I just pitch a red for this. But on the other hand, if my opponent comes at me with a Frostbite Hammer and I'd already pitched my blue Morbid Skies, it means that on my turn I won't have enough resources to pitch for Incantation because of that Frostbite. So this was a tough decision. I ended up just pitching blue Morbid Skies anyway, realizing that my opponent hadn't activated Starvo's ability this turn. So it's probably more likely they're going to come at me with a big attack rather than swinging the hammer. So, yeah, so this is another tough decision. I could obviously block the... I could block the crush effect with just my D-React from Arsenal and my D-React from hand, but then again, I don't have the... I won't have the resources to play Incantation and Read the Runes on my turn. And I do want to prioritize that highly. So I could do the D-React from Arsenal and then maybe a piece of equipment. But then that means on my turn, when I pitch this D-React from hand to play Incantation and follow up with Read the Runes, that means I'm going into my opponent's turn after that with no D-Reacts in Arsenal and no D-Reacts in hand. So that doesn't feel good to me. So I decide to use my fridge for this. It's very early to use the fridge, I know, but this felt like I need the go again, otherwise I can't Incantation and Read the Runes. And I really want to keep this D-React in Arsenal, because I know I'm pitching this other D-React in my hand on my turn. So, yep. I go ahead and Incantation, get the 3, and then do the red Read the Runes, go to 5 rune chance because of the Viserai trigger. So yeah, my equipment is battered, but I still have a D-React in Arsenal. Okay. And then my opponent triggers Bravo with a Pulse of Eisenloft, which is really scary, because especially when you're doing the OTK Viserai, it means that you don't pressure their hand, so they can just hold on to the Pulse of Eisenloft forever, which means they will always only need like a lightning card to trigger Bravo's ability. So yeah, that's very scary. So this thing's coming in for 9 dominate, but there's no hit effect, so that's nice. So no hit effect means I'm not going to use my defense reaction in Arsenal unless I have a defense reaction in hand to replace it. So yeah, in this case, I don't have a defense reaction in hand, so I'm just gonna give my opponent a card here. Okay, and then my opponent pitches an Earth card for the Winter's Wail, so that tells me they don't have another Ice card. They have the Pulse, but obviously the Pulse is... It's very important to hold onto the Pulse to continuously trigger Bravo. More important than Frostbite. At least that was the decision my opponent came to, and I think I would have done the same if I were in their spot. Of course, that helps us so much, because if the Winter's Wail came into Frostbite, what we are about to do, we wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. So I go ahead and play, become the Arc Knight, find a red Reader, and play it, and go up to 10 rune chance. So we're effectively at 12 rune chance right now. So that's quite nice. Like I said, I'm trying to get to about 17, 18 before I go off. Of course, if I'm given the luxury to wait a bit more, I would take it. But with my opponent holding on to this Pulse, it's very unlikely. Then they come in with blue Autumn's Touch. This is 7. Yep. Again, no hit effect, so no point being trigger happy the defense react in Arsenal. And then they come in with the Winter's Wail, and none of my cards here create rune chance. I mean, Spellbear Assault creates rune chance, but gets rid of my current ones. So I actually give my opponent the whole hand, because I want to see the extra card. I could, of course, have blocked this out with just 2 cards, but I want to see more cards, because I'm just digging for further defense reactions or further, like, Read the Runes or Incantations. Okay, so now we found one of our unmovables, so that's really nice. Opponent triggers Bravo again, of course, because it's just holding onto that Pulse. And coming with an evergreen. This is 7. So yeah, so now that I have this other defense reaction in my hand, which I want to arsenal, now is when I finally use this reduced rune enchant that's been in my arsenal, just to make space for this unmovable. Yep, and block out the hammer. Cool. Then we go to 13 rune chance on our turn. We arsenal unmovable. Nice. And then we draw another unmovable. So again, similar principle. I'll be willing to use the unmovable from arsenal, even if my opponent doesn't threaten an on hit, just since I have this other unmovable which I want to get in there. Okay, I come in with an entangle. This is 9. Oh, and yeah, they defuse it. 9 dominate, go again. Yep. Yep, so I just go ahead and just unmovable it. Defense 8, I just take 1. And I'm probably gonna come in with the hammer and I'll just throw my 2 rune flashes in front of it. Yep, hammer. Once again, my opponent's just holding on to that pulse. Okay. And on our turn, we just put the red unmovable. Okay. My opponent triggers Crown at the end of my turn, I believe. And our turn's quite nice. Actually, so obviously when you have a hand like this, you would like to become the Arknight, toss out the Amplify to find a Modratide, and then play Modratide and then read the runes. It's unlikely my opponent lets me keep that many cards in hand, especially since they're triggering Bravo every turn by holding this pulse. So I would settle for just being able to play the red read the runes. Okay, then they come in with an Okanold fused. And they did trigger Bravo, so this is 11, but we have unmovables. So that's really nice. We can just block with a 3 block from hand, and then play the unmovable, and this blocks it out completely. And then they come with the hammer. The hammer got swallowed up somewhere. And yeah, come with the hammer, no frostbite. So I just go ahead and take it all. If it was threatening a frostbite, I probably would have been forced to use the D-react on it, which would have been really sad. But yeah, didn't need to, so that's nice. On my turn, I can just play the red read runes and arsenal another D-react. So it's great that I've just been able to cycle these D-reacts through my arsenal. And looking at this hand, this is actually a really good hand to go off on. You start with a Modratide, and then now you can do your big Sonata, and everything you do after that creates 2 rune chance. So my opponent triggers Bravo, and comes at me with a Pulverize, pitching their entire hand. So, yeah. This is a 16 damage, Dominate. And at least I know there's no way a hammer comes after this. My opponent doesn't have the resources for it. But 16 damage Dominate is still pretty good. Although the on hit is -4 next, it's a much less significant on hit compared to like Okanold or Crippling Crush. So obviously when you're staring down a 16 damage Dominate, I'm basically I basically decided I need to go off on my turn. Because even if I block with a card from hand and like even my equipment, I'll be at like 5 or 6 life, and at that point, like a scary dominate could kill me. So I actually decided just to block the defense reaction and go to 1. There's an argument to have blocked with Skullcap, since I'm going off now, and maybe there's a chance that the that if I yeah, maybe there's a chance I don't get to use Skullcap again if my opponent also goes to 1. So yeah. Yep, so I go ahead and do my big Sonata. X was equals to 8. So I'm revealing 11 cards and I get 4 attacks from it. And I did start with a Moderate Tide. That's nice. This is definitely an argument to have just played Sonata and then kept the Moderate Tide in hand to potentially flash it out with creepers for an extra action point. Yeah, but looking at my hand, since I have a Rune Flash and a Meet and Greet, both of which already have naturally have Go again, I decided I think I can just be greedy and play the Moderate Tide first, and get the extra Rune Chant from the Sonata. Cool. So I take those 4 cards. My opponent takes 4 Arcane. And then my next attack is reduced by the number of Rune Chants I have as well. So there's an argument for playing the Meet and Greet. However, the Pulverize effect is active. So the Meet and Greet would actually come in for 0, and I really want to threaten the Meet and Greet on hit, because with Moderate Tide active, the Meet and Greet on hit is 2 Rune Chants. So yeah, so I decided to start with a Rune Flash, which is, it doesn't do any physical damage, but yeah. My opponent pitches 6 to Rune Chants and they take 13, they go to 18. Yep, and then I come in with the Gloom Veil. All the modes are active. I've definitely created more than 3 auras this turn. So yeah, I'm just trying to bait my opponent to block out these early attacks so that the Meet and Greets on hit happen. But of course, my opponent knows that I have at least 1 Meet and Greet. I got it off Sonata, and so they're prepared for it. This shield is really annoying as well, because it gives me a Frostbite. Yep. So then I pitch 2 to be able to do this Meet and Greet. Take the Arcane. Now this is for physical, threatening 2 Rune Chants. And they block it with it, yeah, block it like this. And I play a second Meet and Greet. If they take the 2 Arcane. And yeah, and here's where, you know, Starvo's deck that's full of 2 blocks really hurts them, because even with that 2 block and Tunic, they can't block the on hit of Meet and Greet. So I'm going to get 2 extra Rune Chants here. Yep, so that's a 2 block and the Tunic. So they'll take 1 and I'll create a further 2 Rune Chants. Go to 9. And then I'm deciding whether I want to hold the Spellblade Assault, since I still have Creepers next turn. I could, and say I draw a bad hand, I could Spellblade Assault and like Creepers out something, so that I can swing Rosetta. But I think, yeah, I end up deciding to just swing Rosetta now, because it's a guaranteed 8 damage. They go to 1, and they don't have an Arsenal, which means that next turn, as long as I can swing Rosetta, I have the game. So yeah, I pitch that and a Rosetta with the 4 Rune Chants, so they go to 1. Of course, they have their equipment back again. Like, they still have 1 more block on the shield, which will give me a Frostbite, 1 more block on Crater Fist. So, yeah, that could potentially be annoying, but yeah. And then I draw up. And, you know, yeah, when I see this hand, my first thought is, alright, I can Moderate Tide, Morven Skies, and Spellblade Assault and Rosetta afterwards. But then I remembered my opponent has that freaking shield that gives me a frostbite, so I can't actually play Moderate Tide. Of course, it's not even like necessary. Like I said, I just need to swing Rosetta. That would have just been greedy to try and play Moderate Tide. But yeah, it's when you've played the deck a lot, you see a hand like this, you sort of autopilot. You might autopilot it, and it's very important to make sure you don't do that. Yep. So we go Moderate Tide, and then Assault. Creates a total of 3 Rune Chancer back, and I'm floating 1. And my opponent can block this out completely, and they can even give me a Frostbite, but because I kept the Moderate Tide, that 1 Frostbite won't be enough to stop me from swinging Rosetta. Yep, so they put the shield in front of this, and a 3 block. I get the Frostbite, and then I just pitch for Rosetta for the win. Yep, so that was the game. It was very close. Yeah, the opponent Starvo managed to find a pulse of Eisenloft very early, and it just held on to it forever. So we were getting fuse attacks turn after turn. But we did have our unmovables to help us with that, and we managed to get there. So, yep, that was the game. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed it.